What would you do if you could be invisible for a day? Write in the comments what you think about it. What would you do if you could be invisible for a day? Enjoy the show. Story 1. I'd make a recording of a few mock tests and stating I destroyed the only working prototype demonstrating a new technology with an obscure method known only to me, and then I'd leak the video. I'd then scam the Defense Department for all they're worth and use the money to establish the first moon base, citing need for gravity-free environment to scale the process. I'd spend the rest of my life pretending to live on the moon using a more elaborate mouse spoof hack, and then use the money to fund advances in material science till I could actually be invisible. Rinse and repeat. Story 2. Maybe I would try to find someone I can follow around for a while. Make them believe I'm either a disembodied spirit or a new sentient voice inside their head. The details, though, are something I would have to work on. I would need to leave something that stays with them forever. Let's say I want the specific person to believe I'm a sentient voice living inside their mind. Well, now I must not only design every word I say to give them a very clear idea of my personality, but also somehow make sure their experience with me during that time tricks their brain into building a copy of my voice and personality so that they actually will be hearing my voice in their mind for the rest of eternity. Basically, my time talking to them and following them while I'm invisible will download or install a copy of my voice and personality into their mind, so that they will always hear an imaginary copy of me talking to them, even after the real me has left them. Story 3. I want to say be a fly on the wall in the White House, Pentagon, or Langley, Virginia, but there are probably thermal cameras. Other than being a pervert and snooping around Scarlett Johansson's house, there'd be walking into a bank vault or catching a first-class flight to Rome and walking right into the Vatican's vault. Story 4. Provided that anything that if your clothes were invisible and by placing items in your clothes it becomes invisible, and then a lot of interesting mischief could happen. For instance, the bank near my house always keeps the vault door open, and it would be very easy to walk in and grab a bunch of money from the vault and walk out as long as it can be covered up by the clothes you are wearing. Another option is going to places like Best Buy or something like that and grabbing a key from one of the employees and getting into their phone display cases, grabbing a bunch of phones and walking out the door. The alarm may go off when walking out the door with the phones, but if you are able to hide them in your clothes because they are invisible as well, literally could sit outside the bank. Just laugh to yourself as the employees lose their mind of why the alarm went off. I would do some fun stuff like while I'm in a public area, I would smack a woman's ass when they are nearby another guy and he'll get blamed for it. There's all sorts of mischief you could get into. You're only invisible for one day. Might as well make the most of it. I might even consider walking into other people's houses and just seeing how they live their normal everyday life. 4 words. Women's college dorm shower. Story 5. If I could be invisible for a day, I think I'd use the opportunity to explore places that are usually off-limits or incredibly crowded. Visiting museums, art galleries, or historical sites without the usual crowds would be amazing. I'd also love to sit in on high-level meetings or events to see what really goes on behind the scenes. Of course, I'd be respectful and avoid invading anyone's personal privacy, but the chance to experience the world from a different perspective would be fascinating. Story 6. Yeah, I'd probably search Reddit for posts like this to get ideas and then go execute ideas to hopefully better my life. Taking a friend to the casino to bet on red-black would be pretty cool, but you'd have to find the right table where you can easily reach the ball without revealing yourself. And being in a busy place while having to dodge everyone so you don't bump them would be exhausting. Story 7. Realistically, walk into walls, trip over everything, stay home out of fear of being hit by a car. If my body doesn't stop photons, my eyes don't work, and I'd be blind, and it'd take far more than 24 hours to adjust to that. If physics didn't apply and my eyes did work, seriously? Probably rob a bank so I didn't have to worry about cash for a long time. If I was posting on Reddit, probably go to a Trump rally and pull that shitty toupee off half-rant. Story 8. Crimes. So many crimes. If anything, I'd end up doing nothing because I don't understand how bank vaults work. Probably sit outside and wait for them to open the door to find out it isn't opened every day. Not to mention I'm invisible. Not the bag of money I probably can't even carry flying to my home. Gonna be honest, I don't think I'd get much done at all. Story 9. When I put stuff in my pockets, does it disappear like Harry Potter's invisibility cloak? If so, I guess I'd probably steal a lot. If not probably the same, except I'd be the first invisible person to be arrested. Can't imagine much other than stealing that would benefit me, except maybe pranking people, but practically any invisible person type prank can be pulled off with the right technology. Story 10 depends on whether the things in my hand are also invisible. If they are, I'm just staying home. It wouldn't be safe for me to go out because my wouldn't be visible to people. Even if held things are visible, I'd likely stay home anyways because I don't feel like getting sat on while I'm seated on the bus. Assuming the bus even stops for a floating cane on the sidewalk. Story 11. Assuming that any clothes or shoes I'm wearing are also invisible, and therefore if I put something inside my pocket, it too will also become invisible, I would probably go in a fun theft binge. I'm not proud of it, but I definitely would. I wouldn't target any individuals though, nor any small independent businesses. Nobody vulnerable. But sure, a department store, a luxury watch franchise, bits of gold jewelry, or maybe the cash registers of a business I hate. Like any major franchise conglomerate with obvious and overt ties to organized religion. Story 12. I have someone in my life currently who is purposefully making my life harder and upsetting. I normally wouldn't even have someone to be this petty about, but I would go to her house and move furniture in her way so she stubs her toe a bunch, turn the dryer off in her laundry, nail her in the conditioner bottle, unplug the fridge, hide her key, put baby oil in her makeup, throw away all deodorant, switch birth control out with sugar pills, mostly small and petty. Some bigger and nastier, these are just off the top of my head. Story 13. Prank my worst neighbor and make them believe that their house is haunted till they move out. I can make their china and ceramics fly all over the place, turn the TV off and on, poke them when nobody else is around, slam the doors hard or open them very slowly before they touch the knob, convince them that their most expensive jewelry or family heirloom is cursed by making it appear at random places. Story 14. Drive a car around recklessly to freak people out. Get blackmail material, steal money? I can only think of bad things. What would be some good things? Edit. I'd sneak into a certain large estate to scare the orange turd into a heart attack, pretend to be the voice of God, and scare the shit up of Congress into acting for us instead of themselves. If we're going to dream, let's dream big. Story 15. Beat up people I have always secretly hated. Scare them and make them think they are being haunted, TP their homes, stink bomb my workplace so I wouldn't have to go to work the next day, stink bomb it again with a stink spray so I wouldn't have to go to work for the next 2 weeks, pull up to my former supervisor's house and kick her ass until she is black and blue but still keep her alive, spray paint obscenities on her front lawn and house, spray paint obscenities on the desk of a coworker, kick my dad in the nuts. It would just be a giant revenge spray. Story 16. Use the invisibility to film hours and hours of impossible magic tricks that I can cut up and use to make hundreds of viral videos I can slowly release on YouTube, etc. to make internet money. No dangers of death or incarceration in doing that. If I had the power for more than a day, I'd move to Hollywood to work on movies. But if you only had 24 hours, you'd have to self-produce the content. Story 17. Often I've had to use my powers of invisibility to avoid an interaction. It's true. Let me explain for the unbelievers. I live with 2 blind family members, both also a little deaf, that at times test my patience. So if I don't want to interact with either of them, I stop what I'm doing, make no sound, and become totally invisible to them, any day of the year. Story 18. My previous boss was such a POS to our clients. He'd ignore them on Teams calls, mock them while on mute, call them names, etc. I'd absolutely love to go invisible and make sure that camera and mic stays on. Those clients deserve so much better than him, and the company has no plans to get rid of him. Story 19. Go to the bank in my city and repay everyone with the same amount that they have paid to the bank on any type of loan. Payment description will be, "Thank you for always choosing us as your bank." Hopefully, even if just for 3 days you can live carefree when they ask you to repay. Say you thought the bank gave you free money for being a good customer. It's not your fault after all, for Invincible Silverbridge did it. Story 20. That depends. If everything I wear and pick up is invisible, I'm definitely stealing all the cash I can. No valuables, cause I have no knowledge on how to safely fence shit besides sell it to a pawn shop herder. If I show up on thermals and things I pick up still aren't invisible, then I'm taking someone with me to a nearby casino and rigging roulette tables until he gets kicked out. Story 21. Well, dumb name, this is something I've often thought about myself. And I came to the conclusion that I don't really think being visible prevents me from doing whatever I want to do. So I'd probably just do the kind of stuff I normally do. You know, like steal stuff, eat stuff, and at the same time, watch stuff. Ugh, never mind. Being invisible is not worth a face full of strong mad butt. Ugh, I feel like I need to take a shower. I don't know when the last time he washed that singlet was. Anyways, remember kids, take your vitamins, pretend you're hilarious, and always, always email strong bad. Story 22. Pivoting the question. I've often thought about how insanely dangerous being invisible would be for the user. The most logical extreme to illustrate this point is the invisible car thought experiment. Just fucking imagine trying to go literally anywhere in an invisible car. I doubt you'd last 5 minutes on any public road. Anytime you stop the car, be it for a red light, stop sign, or even just slow down slightly, you're begging for a minivan pegging session. Just don't stop, run the red light, you're invisible. I can predict someone responding, LOL okay genius. Allow me to gesture to the missions of dashcam videos of idiots who had your exact idea. We underestimate how much we depend on other people being aware of our presence. Oh sure, society might make you feel invisible, but real talk, life would be so much more dangerous if you were literally invisible. Story 23. At first, the freedom and power seemed exhilarating. I could move unseen, unnoticed, and beyond the reach of society's rules. I envisioned using this power to escape constraints, amass wealth through theft, and establish my dominance, planning to rule through fear. But as I embraced these ambitions, my actions spiraled into madness and violence. My invisibility, once my greatest asset, became my curse, leading to isolation, desperation, and ultimately, my downfall. Story 24. It's funny, when I was a teenager I'd have been like, girls, changing room or something. Now I'm in my 30s, I'm like, yeah, that's fucked up. I'd never violate someone's privacy like that, even if I got away with it. So now I'd probably just use the opportunity to prank people and make them think there's a ghost. Story 25. If one is invisible, is their poop invisible? Or would people see the poop in your colon? Or how about the food you eat? Does it just magically become invisible when you first take a bite? The first thing I would do is run tests like this to make sure I was truly unnoticeable. Story 26. I'd pick a person every few hours and follow them around. Make sound effects for everything they do. Watch them get blamed for my farts. Gently blow on their face and in their ear. Eat their food while nobody else is looking. And when they try to prove my existence to others, do nothing. Stop just shy of them having a nervous breakdown or check themselves into a loony bin. And on to the next one. Story 27. Sneak into Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and find the UFOs. Take pictures and video. Some tech, then give it to every news agency in the world. Other options include going to tax havens like Cayman Islands and burning everything to the ground. Grab incriminating evidence to take down some asshole politicians. Murdering any dictator I can get to. Typing that made me feel a little insane, but hey, how likely is invisibility? Story 28. Go on stage with politicians and do things like grab their hand and make them rack themselves on TV. Or when they're drinking water, tip the cup or squeeze the bottle so they spill it down their front and face. Or trip them, kick under their foot while they're walking, pants them, fish hook them while they're talking, stuff like that. I'd also slap my wife's butt more because she couldn't turn away during my approach. Then she slaps my butt as I'm turning to try and get hers. Story 29. Rob jewelry. Straight up cash is super heavy. You'd never be able to carry out enough cash for it to be worth it. Jewelry is different, and with a bit of effort it can be broken down into individual parts that can be sold, and nobody would be the wiser. I might even steal a few luxury watches for personal use. They usually have serial numbers though and can be tracked, so selling would be risky. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Be sure to write comments and share your stories.